All right, we are going to go for a walk in the woods, and we're going to talk about a core marketing principle while taking a machete on a stick to go clear some brush. And I can't see what the lens sees, so we're just going to make the best of it. And the dog is going to come with me. And sometimes I just need to have a longer conversation with you about marketing and understanding some of the core tenets of it. It took me a while. I turned 40 recently, and it took me a while to come to grips with talking about myself and my experience. And so I wanted you to know that I approach this not from my way as the best way, but the content here on Farm Marketing Solutions is that I've learned a lot of lessons, and I'm fairly articulate, if at times verbose, about how I got there, what I was testing, and what the results were. And I've run thousands and thousands of tests, and I've seen other people's marketing at length, and I've dissected it. And I noticed trends. Marketing is very much about trends. It's not about like, what's that one cool email that you designed that one time that got a lot of sales? Don't care. It's an anomaly. Statistically insignificant. I want to know how you kept showing up. And when you showed up time and again, over time, and you had a consistent message, and you were focused on high quality, both in your production and what you created for other people to consume, food, fiber, or fuel, and what impact that had on your life. Very fascinating. I love every aspect of it. And so I want to continue to explore and expand my horizons by dissecting other farm businesses and think, I tried really hard at this. Did a good job. Accomplished a lot of things. Life takes you in all different directions. And so I want to know where you're at, because I have my own personal context. This is going to become a podcast that also has a video. And if you're listening to the podcast, I'm walking through the woods. And if you're watching the video, you can do this in audio. And it's not like a real fantastical videography experience. Moving on. So I think about, my experience marketing, other people that I've worked with. I've done some consulting, a little bit to date. And I've started and run a few businesses. I've worked at different jobs where I got to experience kind of the deeper inner workings of that job. And you notice trends over time. Marketing is all about trends, as I was saying before. And so you want to balance the trends that you see in the market, the commonalities between the people who are trying to do things similar to you and the people who are buying things similar to the things that you are selling. And take a step back, pause, breathe, linger, graze. Notice all little things. How do people interact with marketing? What makes a difference? What moves the needle for you, for other people, as you get together at the farmer's market and swap stories? I would like the conversation to become more educated on how we all make this work. Because it's really, really challenging to make small farms work. And I get in my head about all the different iterations that have worked, that have failed. Sometimes the thing that can mean success for one person can mean failure for another. Family. How complicated is that? Mine happens to be awesome. Not rich, but awesome. So here we are. And so it's fascinating when I go to produce content to teach you about farm marketing, I'm in my head about all the different iterations that your marketing strategy and plan and implementation can take, because there are infinite ways, and it takes a very busy mind to see all of the different iterations that farm marketing can manifest. This is one of my favorite parts of the woods right here. It's the northernmost boundary of the farm. I'm a little ways away. I never go at the boundary. There's always grumpy neighbors. I have some really not awesome neighbors in my life. But we're at the northernmost part, and you're far from the neighbors. You hear a lot of the woods. It's really good out here. I'm out here to clear some land today, but we'll get there shortly. And so for me, as creating content, I have to create content that will get enough views to make enough money to make my dollar per hour worth it. And so I've gotten very efficient at creating media, and I've gone through, the Farm Marketing Solutions has always been a testing ground for me, because I want to keep a beat on like what type of content is being created, how hard is it to create that content, what effect is it having in the market, how big is the market that it is having an effect on. There's a zillion variables in marketing. I'm going to tell this story again. I recounted it to my buddy Troy a couple weekends ago about a circus coming to town, and I'm going to miss some details, but I'll research this and do it again. Let's say there's a circus coming to town. Barnum and Bailey, the John Siskovich Circus is coming to town. Get all this livestock, and as the circus is about to come into town, you put out flyers, and that's advertising. You're getting some awareness. People are seeing it out and about. And then as you get into town, you have some presence, and an elephant gets out, and it goes trompsing around town and makes the news. And that's publicity, good or bad. Could go either way. And then that elephant gets into the mayor's mansion or whatever, you know, because politicians and they like their money and their stuff. And you trap the elephant there, and you get it back to the circus, and you massage the relationship with the mayor. That's public relations. And then if you planned the entire, and then, you know, people know that the circus is there, they just got this big boost, and now they're there to spend their money, and you can make the conversion. They know where to go to spend their hard-earned dollars. That's sales. And if you planned the entire thing, that's marketing. And so with marketing, there's a lot of complexity, and it changes based on your business, your geography. And for someone who wants to create content around marketing, it's very challenging, because the specific all the principles are the same, but the methods vary greatly depending on the geography, and there are very few people who can afford to have marketing services in their lives, because it also requires them to know some stuff. So to teach marketing, to teach marketing, I have to know it, teach it, and then do bespoke one-on-one consulting to really translate it down to your context. And the entire market is not super huge of people who will pay me what I need to get paid to live the life that I want to live, you know, so I can go outside with a machete and cut stuff down in the woods. Now I think of Troy every time I clear my throat, because it's my one tick that I'm super self-conscious of. His friends of mine mentioned it, And now every time I clear my throat, I think about it. Anyways, wrapping this video up, I think a lot about demographics. That's this whole conversation is coming down to the idea of demographics. How many people are there in the world who are doing the thing that you are trying to do? That's demographics. Are you trying to worship a certain way? That's demographics. How many people go to church? How many people don't go to church? How many people don't believe in that at all? Or do you believe that access to clean water is a basic human right? That every human being should have clean water? That's a demographic. That's a way to slice the population into people who believe that and people who do not. Do you believe that concentrating animals in a confined system that denies them access to fresh air, to take a hot steaming dump and then not have to walk on it for the next several weeks of their short lives? If they could take that hot steaming dump and leave it behind them and move on to a fresh salad bar with a diverse diet supported by nutrition and science and good philosophy around their management. There are differences in all of that, and it's going to change from farm to farm, whether you are certified organic but not certified, not organic but non-GMO, nothing but pasture raised. All of those slices fit in the pasture-based system. And all of those slices may or may not be 100% aligned with each farm owner and operator's personal philosophies, but the successful ones have aligned their business strategy in the positioning of their marketing, which is merchandising, what you produce, how you sell it and talk about it, and then how you take that money and make that sale. You know, it's advertising, marketing, and sales. And there are so many combinations that are very specific to pasture-based livestock. If you're doing chickens or cows or pigs, it's all generally the same category, pasture-based protein. So that is another slice that you can get very granular and go down to the animal, back up one step and go to the category, which is pasture-based meat, back up another step and go to just local farm-raised meat that's not necessarily pasture-raised. It could be confinement or confinement on pasture, which that's when you are on pasture but you never move the shelter. There's all these little slices of how this is all put together that overlays with the customer demographics of where those people are in their lives, who you are to them, what that relationship is, and how that relationship relates to all the other relationships in that person's life. And that is totally exhausting. But there are ways to quantify all of these things, gather some data that is significant to your own personal context, and then use that data to drive your decisions so that you can overlay that with all of the other decisions that you have to make in running a business, because that is just one element. And that is why a lot of small farms fail. There's a bunch of reasons. People shouldn't be so independent. We should work with co-ops, and there's like a lot of fun things that we can explore. But for today's lesson, and the longer form journey brings us down to demographics. I'm reaching out to you because I gave a talk at the American Pasture Poultry Producers Association annual conference in 2025, January 2025. I will be going there in 2026. It's going to be in Florida, and my whole family's coming because it's going to be in Florida. it's awesome. There's a lot of good things. It's not a commercial for the conference. And I gave a talk on the fly at the 2025 conference where the speaker who was supposed to show up got sick and he couldn't come. And so they said, John, can you be part of a panel? I feel the need to walk. I'm going to just stop walking and talk for a minute. Because this comes out on a podcast too. They asked, can you be on a panel? And I said, sure. You know, whatever you need, I'm here having a good time. And so they gave me a microphone and I stood up in the front of the room and it's like the thing was going to start at 2. It was 1:58 and they're like, can you be on a panel? And I'm like, sure. Grab the microphone. I put my stuff down. It's 1:59 now. And I'm like, who else is going to be on this panel? And they were like, can you just go now? And one of the things that I find universally applicable to livestock farmers in general, I have more experience in the livestock farm realm, so I'm willing to narrow my scope if you're willing, because the internet just chews you apart for everything you say, which is good. It's not a bad thing. Livestock people, I have found universally that when something goes wrong or something needs to get done and it's so clear that that goal works for the group, everybody jumps in line and says, all right, how do I help? It's the only conference where people will pay a couple $100 to get in and then volunteer to help move a table, do a thing, clean up a thing, do a thing, whatever. Not that it's required, not that everybody's doing that, but I've helped run the parts of it, and it's an awesome group. To serve that group of people, I gave that talk where it was about marketing and how to create engaging content. And I've spent a bunch of time refining my process for making content, keeping production costs low, but the quality and the effect of it high. And for the sample sizes that I've been targeting, it's been very successful. And so I want to take some time over the next couple months to do 2 things. Why do one thing when you can do 2 things? I'm going to raise a batch of broilers at my house, 60 birds and 2 chicken tractors. I'm going to build 2 chicken tractors from scratch using my plans. And I'm going to do the math, and we're going to take, instead of focusing on a big farm, we're going to look at what is just the simple process of what it is to raise a bird. How much does that cost? What goes into it? We can go on all the tangents along the way. I'm very excited for it. So I'm going to raise 60 chickens, and I got some collaborators. There's some other people in the industry that are involved. I'm going to rope in some APA board members to get in some actual expertise, because I'm just a jerk on YouTube. And then along the way, I want to talk about media production, the internet, how the internet works, how you can be a part of it. It's an ecosystem that is a large part and has an outsized effect on the world around us. I don't want to get political with this podcast or this YouTube channel, although I feel like it is impossible not to discuss it because it is just a big part of our lives, but I'm not going to start there. Maybe that'll come out a little later. What I want us to get out of this journey together is to have an understanding of where the small farm movement is at the moment, what are some of the emerging ideals, what are some of the long-held beliefs that it's time for them to be challenged, and we'll have some conversations around that. I'm going to bring some guests in. And then what do we do about that? How do we have a positive effect, knowing what we do about the production and then the business and marketing? Then we have defined ourselves as a demographic for what we're trying to achieve, and that is to provide people with healthy food, sequester carbon, be a part of a natural ecosystem, all the things that pastured poultry is the essence of, and any singular definition I feel like falls short and doesn't quite get everything, and at the same time is not strong enough to hold up against the powers of capitalism and greenwashing. And so let's navigate this year raising 60 chickens together, because why not? And my freezers are getting light, so let's refill. And talk about what it is to create content on the internet. I'm now doing it at scale in multiple areas and multiple levels with multiple organizations in my life, and I feel like I have a really good sample size just for myself, but then I'm starting to branch out and I'm working with a bunch of other small businesses and doing some consulting, and I'm finding that all the themes are the same, whether you're selling 100 birds or 100,000 birds, or you're a $100 million business, or whatever. All of the principles are the same, but the methods are infinite. And so let's go over some case studies. Let's bring in some experts in the field who are actually doing it with varied backgrounds, and talk about how we make this small farm thing work. What are our next steps? What are our aligned philosophies? What are our next steps? And what do we need to do to get there? This was a lot of fun. I didn't know where I was going to go when I started this video. I like the idea of it becoming a podcast as well. I have a machete on a stick, and now I'm going to go chop up some woods and not think about videos or talking at all. And I'm glad you're here. So thanks for taking the time. Keep yourself safe. Take care of those other people around you. Till next time, I will see you out in the field.